Thank you to everyone here today and those streaming at home. My name is Akin Adebowale. I will be your moderator today. So allow me to start by introducing myself. I am a founder and chief executive officer of a company called Blacktag. We're a global entertainment platform that is both blockchain and social enabled. On our app, you can stream content that's created by Black people, curated by Black people, and designed to serve Black people, specifically what we call the alternative Black artists and audiences, or those that sit outside the traditional mainstream definition of Blackness. So Blacktag's North Star is economic empowerment for the Black creator, achieving equity. We believe that Black art is Black money. If you haven't seen the film, please go watch it online. It's a good one. Today we announced the next phase of our product updates. We are releasing a product called BTX. It's the first NFT marketplace for Black creators and Black art, as well as introducing our cryptocurrency, Black Rose, an Ethereum-based layer 2 token that will have a dedicated supply allocation for Black community initiatives and generational impact. So our hope is that together these initiatives will expand opportunities for financial independence for Black people all around the world and allow creators to protect and build creative equity. Today we're going to hear from folks who've made it their mission to be radical examples of Black artistry and innovation, those that serve as policy experts and evangelists of what this means for Black people, and we'll get right into it. Let's start with KESH. Please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm KESH. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and I focused on digital and physical art as well as music and design. My artworks have been shown in historical institutions such as Christie's Auction House and the Museum of the African Diaspora. My works have been commissioned by fashion houses and brands such as Moschino, Skims and Beats by Dre, and my current project is focused on a limited edition of 888 NFTs that also comes with a hoodie that is based within augmented reality and it's interactive. This is the hoodie. So I'm very excited to be here today with Blacktag talking about, the progress we're making in Web3 and with these wonderful guys as well.
Cool. I'm Naithan Jones. I'm on the founding team at Royal. We allow artists to sell their royalty and their rights to their music directly to fans for the first time using tokens. Previous to this, for the last, I think, 7 or 8 years, I've worked in crypto when I worked at Andreessen Horowitz, so helped put together the Dapper Labs, deal with the NBA to put together NBA Top Shots, helped some of the strategy with Andreessen Horowitz and the culture, specifically, relevant to what I'm doing today, helped get Nas into Coinbase, which was a very well publicized deal for Nas, and have worked feverishly in the culture since to make sure that there's open access and tools for all of us to be able to contribute and be a part of this.
I am Cleve Mesidor. Before I introduce myself, I do want to say that do not adjust your television. This is actually what crypto looks like. Everything else you see is actually a lie. But I lead the National Policy Network for Women of Color and Blockchain, but I'm also an advisor to the Blockchain Association. I'm an author as well, so unlike KESH, I didn't bring my book, I should have, but I'm the author of The Clevolution, My Quest for Justice in Politics and Crypto. My career started in politics. I worked on Capitol Hill in Congress. I served in the Obama administration. I actually left Washington because I wanted to find my tribe. I wanted to find a space where I could actually have the social justice that I wanted. And that's when I landed into crypto. I first learned about blockchain in 2013 during the Obama administration and went down the rabbit hole in 2016 and have not been back since. So thrilled to be here, excited for this conversation.
Cleve, you are an advisor to the Blockchain Association, as you mentioned, and certainly have seen the evolution in this space. Can you give us a little background into why you believe Black people are so attracted to this space, especially given our history in traditional fiduciary systems, and what opportunities exist for us that might not exist in other systems?
Yeah, so the data shows that Black and Latino communities lead national adoption by double digits. So when you look at the Black community who holds crypto, 27% is the Black community. The white community, 11%. So by double digits, it's not just, a thing, a blimp. There would not be an industry without us. But why are we attracted to this space? Like, why? Well, what we've seen is that people who have been locked out of the traditional financial system are attracted to crypto. We've seen that globally in terms of adoption, and we've certainly seen that here. Right? So when people think about who have been locked out of the traditional financial system, they think about the unbanked, right? And in the US right now, there's 63 million people who are either unbanked, underbanked, or lack access to the traditional financial system. But when we talk about the Black community who's galvanizing this and who's locked out, yes, it is the unbanked and Black and urban and rural communities, people who never got a bank account, right? But it's also Black churches, right? These entities put money, deposit large sums of money into banks. Those same banks won't give them a loan. How is it possible that you can deposit $500,000 each year, but you can't qualify for that bank's products? And then there's professionals like myself. I'm a Gen Xer. Like those of us who have built wealth, right? But because the SEC has these rules for accredited investors that we don't fit into, we don't have the pedigree, even though we have the degree, we have the money, we can't build wealth, right? So we've been locked out of all of these opportunities, and certainly what we've seen over the last few years is new asset classes, especially the ones that are emerging where there's an opportunity to make a lot of money. We've been locked out of them too, right? There's always been a barrier to entry. Do you have an account? The application process, the fees. And I think why we gravitated was Bitcoin's diminished barriers of entry. You don't need any permission from anyone. No, Bitcoin is owned by everyone and no one at the same time.
Thank you so much, definitely. Yeah, I mean, personal journeys, I just want to dive in a bit more into that. Now, KESH, you are an incredibly talented digital artist. Yeah, in fact, you were selling JPEGs on MySpace, right? MySpace, shouts out to Tom on MySpace. I don't know if you remember Tom. Yeah, Tom Anderson, he was, y'all remember how unproblematic he was? But no, KESH, you were selling JPEGs on MySpace in the early days. So shout out to you for being so future-proof. So please teach us your ways. As someone who's been there from the beginning, you've certainly seen it all and witnessed how the dialogue has evolved and advancements have been made. Could you share a little bit about the journey and challenges you faced that led you here, and also the opportunity that was presented to you through NFTs and blockchain and taking control of your work as a creator?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I was thinking about it a lot recently, and I began my journey within the digital space or within the internet within Web 1. I was 9, 10 years old, and I was operating using the family computer and just exploring that space of kind of getting to know the very, very early internet. At the same time, I was using that same family computer, which is a janky old PC, and making digital artworks on Microsoft Paint. And, really addicted to playing The Sims and building worlds and just being all up in that. So I was a computer kid for sure. And that's really the very beginning journey for me. And then as things moved and shifted into Web 2, I went from adolescence into becoming a teenager and then having the opportunity to start connecting with people in the outside world via social medias. And by that time, I'd built my craft up and, advanced and evolved as a artist. I didn't consider myself a digital artist or an artist. I was just making cool pictures online. And I was able to start sharing those works within, the Web2 space and social medias, very early social medias. And around that same time, that was when MySpace was born. And as you know, it's a very creative platform where people could really express themselves and share their individuality. So I was able to utilize that space to share my works, but also kind of evolve and blend the two worlds of IRL and URL together to be able to take my artworks and put them onto t-shirts and hoodies and things like that, because there was a lot of interest in the artwork itself, but obviously this was very early days, so people still didn't really understand that it was art. I mean, I didn't either, actually. I was just a kid, so I was just doing what I could, like get in where you can fit in, And I started selling those t-shirts and those hoodies online, and I was able to make enough money to be able to get out of my very small hometown and move over to London and then really build a career for myself. Fast forward, years later, we've been in Web 2 for so long, and now here we are in Web 3. I've managed to establish myself as a fine artist and be able to show those works within, as I mentioned before, like auction houses such as Christie's, and show the works in AR form, in digital form, with the Museum of the African Diaspora, plus many more projects. And I think now with the blockchain and where we are with Web3, I think being able to take this journey and apply it to this space, it has been such an it's been needed for me as an artist in my career, because I didn't have any kind of form of protection for the works that I was putting out in the world. So those works were then have been plagiarized many a times, even to the point that one day I woke up and I saw Versace had released a $700 t-shirt with my artwork on it. And this was this was 2015, and this is a very big situation. So I think there's been many times that I've been plagiarized, and now when I have the access to Web3 and the blockchain, for me personally as a digital artist, it's really, really useful and helpful to be able to authenticate my work, protect my work, and be able to exist in that space without worrying.
Nate, so you grew up around musicians, and your work has carried you from being a prominent investor to now advocating for artist equity at Royal. Can you share a bit about how all these experiences, both personal and professional, have shaped who you are, and how this connects to both artists and consumers getting what they deserve?
Yeah, you kind of hit on it. The work I'm doing today is deeply personal to me. I grew up outside of London as well, but my dad was American, my mom's British. My dad, he got out of the military. He was a very gifted musician, so much so that very famous artists who we now know as icons, would be around my house because my dad would be making them guitars, and went on tour with a lot of them, like Nat King Cole, went on tour with The Who, played in a lot of blues and rock bands that are now considered to be iconic artists. And he had some designs, some guitar designs that went on to be incorporated into one of the top 2 largest guitar manufacturers today, but he didn't see a dime from that. Those designs were ripped, away from him, stolen, given by his manager at the time to one of these guitar manufacturers as a way to pay back those debts in a really unfair way that gave him no equity. And it was just one of these things that we've heard this story a million times, especially with black music. The history of black music, when you look at it all the way back, you look at the Cotton Club and the Chitlin Circuit and all of that, where black artists had to create their own way and their own path and educate themselves and create their own infrastructure because of what was happening in the industry. And we saw it again, the exploitation that happened in hip hop, until you had some entrepreneurs come along that kind of took some of the street knowledge and applied it to hip hop to make sure that they weren't going to be exploited the same way. So it was, applying some of that game. But our family, my family, we should have lived, I feel like we should have lived a different life than what we lived if what happened, should have happened a different way. And so, even with my own personal story coming into tech 20 years ago and having some doors open to me, not even being a college graduate, but, having the mind to do it, and studying it, doors got open to me and I was able to build a career. I've always kept in mind the intersection of culture and tech, because just, if you have if you have the train tracks, but you don't have the culture to push the trains on those train tracks, it doesn't work. They both have to be together. And so what I'm seeing now is that there's an understanding of that, and that culture really is starting to be. We're not even close to where we should be, but we're starting to see some balancing of the incentives between the two, and some alignment of that, both economically and as far as cultural impact and recognition for the contributions being made. And Black artists in this country have made incredible contributions to the fabric of this country, and have told the story of America, almost like a love letter. And it's good to see now that there are these opportunities for artists to be supported, and for them to be recognized for playing a part of that fabric. And so, for me, you hit on that. It's deeply, deeply personal to me, and so that's why I'm glad to be on this panel.
No, thank you, man. And just on that, music NFTs allow for passionate fans and listeners to support an artist and help them achieve their career sustainably without the reliance on mainstream success. Can you also discuss how music NFTs are reshaping the music industry, specifically in allowing artists to maintain IP control and truly owning their superfans?
Yeah, I think, there's been a few hacks that have happened, as technology has progressed, through these different kind of iterations over the last, especially the last 30 years, which is, you can even go back to the Napster days when you had some rappers mislabeling their files and distributing them as, more well-known rappers, and, you would download them and burn them to discs, and that's how they got to distribution, stuff like that, what they was doing. There's always some hack-arounds that were used to get to distribution. Even looking back at like Video Music Box with Ralph McDaniels, kind of innovated on some of the economics incentives, I'm talking about some of the economic incentives around the music video space, and they were really, really innovative, and giving them, a shout out to like even Sylvia Robinson, who started Sugar Hill Records. Like the way that she did that was kind of the blueprint for the A&R model, and that was kind of taken from some of the larger labels. We look at this today, and you look at distribution, media, community, all of those things being packaged into one with aligned incentives. It's not perfect, but what it is it's an opportunity for artists to organize an economy on top of a community. And we've always been incredible about organizing community around what we do. And then you look at streaming as kind of a map of a fan base or a map of the music industry, but it doesn't give you the topography. And when I'm talking about the topography, I'm talking about the 100, 200, 300 super fans who will ride or die with you. Those are kind of obfuscated, and you don't really see those 200, 300, 400, 500 fans inside of the streaming numbers, because everybody's in a single band, subscription band, $12.99, on Spotify or whatever that is. And what I think's interesting is we can organize those 300-400 people that'll ride or die for you. Maybe now you're making more music, maybe now you're spending more time on your marketing versus going to work at Starbucks or something like that, where you would rather be in the studio, you would rather be writing, you'd rather be resting. Creatives need rest in between creating, and inspiration doesn't come on a schedule. So being able to allow artists, I think part of what we're working on at Royal is, creating that economic environment for artists. Maybe you don't blow up and become a superstar, but you could take care of your family and live a lifestyle completely and wholly off of your art. And I think if we can do that for hundreds of thousands of artists, we're going to see an explosion of creativity. And that's going to benefit the Black community for sure.